As we mentioned earlier, Ontario is facing a whopping cost for cancelled gas plants. The Oakville plant alone will cost hundreds of millions of dollars more than what was expected. Meanwhile, the Premier is actually denying any involvement, and that's a day before she delivers a budget. Our next guest says Ontarians are already fed up. Candice Malcolm, Ontario Director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, joins us now. Candice, great to see you again.
Thank you. Good
okay,
morning.
let's talk about this whole cancelled gas plants. I mean, 40 million to 310, massive numbers.
Yeah, I mean, how can you trust this government? You know, they're adamantly saying the cost is only $40 million. 2 days later, the inquiry happens, and we find out that it's 675% higher than what they were claiming. I just don't buy it. I don't buy the fact that Premier Wynne wasn't involved in the decision in the first place, and I don't understand how the Premier of a province doesn't know the costs of a huge, high-profile cost within her government.
OPA actually says that they were telling them that it was going to cost that much. I mean, we haven't seen the Auditor General's report. It could be even higher.
Exactly. Yeah. This is still. I mean, the number keeps growing every time there's a new news on this canceled gas plants. It's more outrageous than the last time, and I don't think the Liberals are doing any favor to themselves by catching up after the fact. So they adamantly they insist that the cost is this. Then new information comes out, and they just kind of shrug their shoulders, and they don't take any responsibility. And for the Premier of a province to not know a cost until after somebody else testifies, she should be on top of that. She's showing a real lack of leadership on this file, and I think Ontarians and taxpayers in this province are fed up with having to foot the bill for this government's just for more than incompetence, but almost malcontent, just totally unacceptable on this file.
Suppose they apologized. Suppose Kathleen Wynne came out and said, I'm really sorry, we did make a mistake. Do you think the taxpayer would forgive them, or are they fed up enough to say, you know what, you're out?
Well, it's tough to say. I think so much of the outrage around this particular file was because of the intentions and the way that it all happened. So this was a partisan decision. We know this now, and Kathleen Wynne has admitted it, that it was a decision made by the Liberal governments during an election. So it's not just another instance of incompetency in the bureaucracy. This was a political decision, and this is costing taxpayers just outrageous amounts of money, and they keep lying throughout every step of the process. So I think it's a little bit too late to just say, okay, we apologize. I think that Premier Wynne's trying to distance herself from this decision, but it's just showing a real lack of leadership on her behalf to the taxpayers of Ontario.
Okay, so we had non-confidence, didn't get started, if you will, and the budget is up next. What are you expecting from the budget that might tick off Ontarians?
Well, again, like the political situation, we know that PCs and Tim Hudak don't want anything to do with this budget. They want an election. They're not going to vote no on the budget. So it's really an issue between the NDP and the Liberal, and I think we're going to see an NDP budget. I think the leader of the NDP, Andrea Horwath, has said she has 7 demands that she wants for this budget, and we're slowly seeing each of them being introduced. So at first, Premier Wynne said no, we're not going to be held hostage by the NDP. But then, yesterday, buried in all this news about the gas plants, the Liberals announced that they were going to have a forced reduction of auto insurance rates, which was exactly what NDP had asked for. So, that they're going to get involved in the auto industry and force private companies to reduce their rates. There's going to be a mandatory profit reduction for these private companies. So you're already seeing this kind of big government approach and almost like a state takeover in the auto insurance. So,
but the benefit of that, quite frankly, is that it will reduce the cost to the taxpayer, if you will, for that. It's going to hurt corporations, so it's kind of a trade-off on that side. But I'm more worried about taxes across the board going up. I mean, what's going to happen to transit, for instance?
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see movement on the transit, and there's been a lot of hints leaked through the media that the government does want to raise taxes, that they think that they have a revenue problem and they need to have more money being brought in by taxes. But I think given in light of all these scandals, first it was Orange, then it was e-health, now it's the gas plants. I don't think that this government can raise taxes and say it's for infrastructure when everyone knows the money's going back to pay off these scandals and this bad governance and bad spending of the past. So I don't think that they're in a situation where they can raise taxes politically, but I mean, they might try, and instead of outright raising taxes, you might see increases in levies or in
fees and
fees,
kind of stealth taxes, the cost of operating in this province.
Exactly, yeah, the sneaky kind of ways to raise taxes without having to admit they're raising taxes, which is what politicians are really great at doing.
Yes, it's true too. Candice, great to have you here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Candice Malcolm, Ontario Director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation.